Hi, I'm Felice Shapiro here with Better After 50, and I am so excited to be talking to my friend Gwen Masterman Snyder, who is at her Little Gem Resort, which is a miracle, frankly. I mean, the fact that she and her husband have opened this resort in a pandemic is a wild story. But before we jump right into that, I just want to introduce Gwen. Hi, Gwen.
Hi, Felice.
Hi, I've known Gwen my entire life and am in awe of her. But after 50, her journey has accelerated to to a pace I can't even keep up with. And I want her to share a little bit of what is happening after 50 on an island called Livongo, right?
Is that like, go ahead.
Gwen, so hi, and is that what you are? Where are you exactly?
So I am living on an island called Livongo Cay, which is located in the U.S. Virgin Islands in between St. John and St. Thomas. It's its own island, but it is technically part of St. John, which a lot of people may know. It's one of our national parks, and one of the reasons people love, to come here. So I call myself Rapunzel of Livongo because I barely leave this island. And I've been here now for a couple of months, as you said, launching this new project.
Yeah, Rapunzel is right. I've never seen your hair so long. And
That's true.
it would not be a BA 50 conversation if we didn't talk about the hair.
Well, it is COVID. There aren't that many options.
Right. So Gwen and her husband, Mark, who was my dearest childhood friend, have been in the travel business. What do we call the business? The generic business.
Hospitality.
Thank you. The hospitality business for their careers. And they have a fantastic hotel in Martha's Vineyard and one in Nantucket. And they have quite a story, which we can put the link in and we'll Google that, but we won't spend time on that today. When Mark and Gwen decided to launch another hotel, Livongo, there was no pandemic on the horizon. So tell us a little bit about your vision and what's changed for you, Gwen.
So I think that many people probably can relate to this, but if you're going to survive, I think during COVID, the word is being nimble. And we have really had to pivot so many times in the last year just to stay in business. And, we launched what is now a hotel brand. As you mentioned, Felice, Little Gem Resorts did not exist before COVID. Once we decided to add a third, there was suddenly like this little collection of hotels. And as you mentioned, it's a huge leap. This is a family business. This is not something that we are just trying to come up with ways to spend money. This is how we make our living. And we sought to find an opposite season US-based destination and had been vacationers of St. John, and of course, per usual, turned our leisure time into work. So we found this great destination. As you mentioned, I work with my husband, Mark, who is really an entrepreneur and quite restless and had a new itch to do something more. And I am the voice of yes or no, in the sense that I can either see it or I can't. And when we got to Livongo, which is still kind of a wild and woolly place, I was like, all right, I can see this. So together we jumped in, and we knew there were going to be potential hurricanes because we came down here post the devastating hurricanes of Irma and Maria, and we decided that we could do it. We have to find those opportunities where we can. So, being a small company. So hurricanes were known, and one morning we were here last year, and someone alerted me to an earthquake that could be a potential tsunami threat in the Virgin Islands. I'm like, okay, earthquakes, tsunamis, and then of course, who would have ever thought a pandemic? And that really has forced us to rethink how we're going to put this together and slow the roll a bit on what we build and when we build it. But we're
So,
open.
so here you are on this island. You got there in, I mean, when did you actually fly there
This
and
year, or when did we buy it?
when did you buy it?
So we closed last November, 2020.
Okay.
And we knew that, and what did we buy? We bought most of this island. Uh, it's a 100-acre island. We own 45 acres of it. It was a failed residential development. So there were some things that the previous owners did that were miraculous. They put in 3 deep water docks, solar, and some wind. So we were able to be, we could step into a vision of turning this into a resort because the infrastructure, albeit a lot of it is broken. We didn't know that when we bought it, but buyer beware. But the docks are crucial. A lot of these cays around the Virgin Islands don't have docks, and due to environmental concerns, we'll never have that. So we were lucky in that way. So we bought that, and we knew we needed to do something. So we quickly, pre-COVID, opened up a small restaurant here just to get some life on the island, just to get people thinking there was something happening. But
And
then
I
COVID
would
shut us.
say, who would be coming to a restaurant on the island with no hotel on it?
So we are, it's a waterfront restaurant. We're literally at the water's edge. So boaters, and we
Owners.
worked with a company here to provide ferry transportation from St. John and St. Thomas. So people in villas, people in hotels. There really aren't any hotels post-hurricane that were open last year. So it was an experiment. And there are people that live here. I mean, St. Thomas has 65,000 residents and St. John has 4,500. So it was a way to get life going. And it did go. And then COVID happened 6 weeks later and
Oh,
everything shut down. And it was like all of us, so surreal, but particularly surreal being in this remote place. It's not remote, but this other place than our home, and thinking, what do we do? Like, how do we get home? What are we going to do with this place? And our one of our sons moved here and has been living here for 2 years, moved here the summer before we closed. So there's just was so many things happening. And then of course, the trauma of trying to keep the other resorts open, and what were we going to do with this asset that we now had, like now we've got this island, like what are we going to do? So that's been really challenging to figure out what's prudent course.
so bravo, incredible courage. Something that we think of, I'm sorry to bring age in, but since we're better after 50, something we could imagine maybe a bright-eyed 29-year-old doing, but here you are at the transition time of
Yeah.
this later chapter in life, rolling up your sleeves. And last I spoke to you, I think you were doing all the sheets for the guests. Is that correct? Did you say you were wishing you had an industrial um,
So, so what
washing
do I
machine?
think? I think just to help people visualize what's actually on this island currently, there's a restaurant and a beach club that we built down at the water. So this beach club, really, it's a European model. There's really not a lot of models for it in the U.S., but you can come and rent a chaise lounge or a cabana. We've built a big pool, and of course, if you have people at a pool, you have to provide pool towels. And I know from having the pools at the other hotels, this is a huge, huge chore just to wash. People want, and including myself when I'm in a place, my towel's wet. I want another towel. If you think about how many towels you might use for a day at a pool or on a beach, and then multiply that by hundreds of people. So Christmas week, we opened December 23rd. The beach club and the restaurant. We have one villa available for rent, so there's not a lot of guests living on the island. And it was like boomed. It was like so insane. At Christmas week, people were on chartered boats, they were on catamarans, they were staying in villas, and we had like 300 to 400 people here for 10 days straight. It was, and we didn't even have an organization, and we didn't have any washing machines. Okay, so what did we have? We had my washing machine and dryer in this house that I'm living in, which was a model home, which hadn't been lived in for years. And I won't tell you the creatures that had enjoyed it. So it's not like, it's beautiful, don't get me wrong, but it's not in great shape. So I had one washing machine, one dryer, and hundreds of towels. And it was like they would drive garbage bags of wet towels up to this house. And I did all day long, wash, dry, fold, roll, wash, dry, fold. And then someone would come and drive these down to the beach club. I was like, there was one moment, I think around New Year's, where I literally broke down crying because I opened the back door to my house and there were still like 5 bags of towels. And I was like, this is just so insane. But happily, I can report that we had ordered commercial laundry. Of course, they don't get here. That's the other challenge of living here. Everything is ordered, and you're like, poof, I pressed the Amazon buy button and it says it'll be here, and it, who knows. So they didn't get here for weeks and weeks. But as of about a week ago, we have two commercial washers and dryers that are currently doing the beach towels. But that was something else. I will never forget it. I was literally a wet rag, like the towels. I was one with the wet, dirty towels.
Well, oh my God, I'm so glad that you are no longer a rag and you've moved on. Tell us, because we always, I don't know, in a sick way, we kind of like to hear like the that is of course a bit of a disaster story, but what really rocked your boat like in a way that you couldn't anticipate? You have a story about that during this?
You mean, tell me more.
You didn't expect to happen.
Oh my God, there's I've been keeping a journal or a diary of this, and I have an entire section called things I never ever thought I would. That's like the story of my life here. From I mean, we live on islands, and I know this sounds absurd, but I really don't know anything about boats. Like we're not boaters. We're on the ferry boat to the vineyard in Nantucket, and we've never owned any boats of our own, and uh, and even though these waters are, kind of in a like almost like a cul-de-sac here. St. Thomas is to one side and St. John is here. We're 5 minutes from each of them. It's still the ocean, right? And I'm not super comfy on the ocean. And the boats we do own are like, maybe most of us, I guess, at over 50 will remember Sanford and Son. It feels a little like Sanford and Son. So I have found that I just have to steel myself even when I go to St. Thomas sometimes and like, okay, those waves are super big. I'm fine. I'm like a seafaring gal now. Like I'm okay. So, facing some fears for me and trying to tune out the anxiety that might come from that, and how do we get around this island? We have ATVs, like you see people bombing through, I don't know where. So that's what I drive. Like I'm like hauling down this is a volcanic island. It's very steep, in these 4-wheel drive vehicles.
Oh my God. This is hard to envision you driving an ATV.
I'm telling you, it's very, empowering in a way, I guess is what I would say. Just for me personally, the stuff that I have physically been doing. And I would say that I'm surprised to, and a little humbled by how many people, are coming here and feeling sorry. There's one of our ATVs driving up the driveway as we speak. That come and they're just so grateful that there's a place that they can be, albeit with our masks, but that it feels like something a little bit normal to eat at a restaurant, to sit outside and be with your friends and family. But I mean, daily, Felice, there's just something that happens that, you just have to say, okay, like I was called at 8. I think I mentioned this to you before. 8, this is minor, but we have a guest in the villa and someone couldn't go pick them up to bring them to dinner. And they're like, can you go get them? So I have to like get in my ATV and be their Uber driver, like, hi, I'll happy to take, they were super nice, but it's those things come with being in this business.
Well, I think you're an incredible example. Well, we're going to have to check in with you later next year, even to see how things are progressing, because it's a story that's really not a Gilligan's Island, because you are not certainly.
Well, it is a little Gilligan's Island.
Oh, it is?
Way at times. I mean, look, it's
okay, Marianne, because you look a little like Marianne, I got to say.
not Ginger or Mrs. Howell.
I don't know. You're in the, you're beautiful, but you definitely are in the laundry, the laundry.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, I listen to your orientation about what's life after COVID, what are those challenges? And I just think that it's very much a mindset. Of course, if you think that there are new adventures out there, there will be new adventures out there. And it's so easy to not embrace that. And, you know, I want to be clear, we do have our young 20-something-year-old son who's providing that, like, you know, endless energy, but it is pretty exciting. It feels very creative.
Love that. I love it. Hopefully I'll get there one day. It is an
Uh,
American island, not a British Virgin
it's
Islands.
a direct flight from a lot of direct flights from New York, from Boston, right to St. Thomas. I mean, the COVID levels are. I mean, one thing which is so crazy, the Virgin Islands does a lot of things really dysfunctionally, but they have handled COVID and vaccines in a way that is completely surprising.
It's fantastic.
Kudos to
And
them. Kudos to that government.
it sounds great. I'm ready to glamp. I
Come
guess
on,
you're,
glamping. By next December, 10 glamping tents.
oh my gosh. There's so much to talk about. We'll put the link in to the
Yeah,
site.
thank you,
People can
please,
see the
for
pictures. But
caring about what we're doing here. It really means a lot to me.
so proud of you guys and excited for your adventure, and you're inspiring. So we're going to sign off now. Great to
Okay.
see you, Gwen. Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.